So hello everyone, welcome to our webinar marathon week. Hope you all are doing good and keeping safe. And I hope you are all set for the big upcoming event happening in October. That is, yes, I'm talking about the community summit that is happening in the Texas. So Inogic, we are thrilled to provide you with the preview of Inogic latest innovation that will be showcasing at this conferences. And yes, I'm your host, Jairaj Nadar. I will be your host and guide you through this entire session. So any questions, any queries, I will be happy to answer all of your queries. You can feel free to put it in the chat window. And in this today's session, we will be seeing how the document management app, so that is the SharePoint security sync application, can overcome all of the challenges faced by the users in managing the document in the CRM as well as into the SharePoint. So for your information, all lines will be muted. In case if you have any questions, any queries, you can feel free to put it in the chat window. So yes, definitely we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And during that time, I will be happy to answer all of your queries. So before I deep dive into the session, let me give you a short brief about Inogic. Inogic is one of the leading service provider and an independent ISV. We are also an exclusive Dynamic 365 CRM boutique shop that has been in the business for more than decades now. We also been active in the CRM community in which our blogs are very popular. As you can see on the screen, these are all the various productivity add-ons which Inogic has to offer. Out of all, I would like to talk about some of the key flagship product of Inogic. Starting with Maplytics. Maplytics is a market-leading CFMD certified product which provide capabilities like visualizing CRM data on map, route optimization, territory management, smart appointment planner, and much more. And next, I would like to talk about this SharePoint security sync, that is the file and storage management solution that includes both attached Dynamics and the SharePoint security sync application. So in today's session, we will be deep diving into more about this particular application with the latest feature that we have incorporated in this solution. So apart from this product development, Inogic is also an SI. We do provide an offshore development services by assisting our partners and the customers. So if you need any more information related to any of our productivity add-ons or service related, you can do reach out to us at crm@inogic.com. And this is the agenda for the today's session. Like as you see, we will see what all the challenges faced by the users in managing the document within the CRM and how we can optimize the storage using the document management application along with the SharePoint security sync, the security sync model in the SharePoint and the live demonstration. And finally, at the end, we will be having a Q&A session. Let's begin the session with the challenges. Though Microsoft Dynamics CRM is a sophisticated system, many user faces many challenges in managing the document within the CRM. So let's say currently there is no provision where a user can upload a multiple file at a time into the SharePoint, right? They can upload only one file at a time, which is really a time consuming task. And also the files that are added into the CRM, that is something consuming a CRM storage space, and thereby it puts into the worry for an organization to buy an additional storage space from the Microsoft, which isn't costly, right? And also the limitations that you have seen in the SharePoint, that you can only have a 50,000 items in a single document library, right? I hope you all may be aware about it. But this limitations has been not yet overcome. This is where the users are facing many challenges out of it. So this is something really a worrying concern for a large organization who has been having a multiple files has been maintained in a single document library. And yes, there has been no provision for synchronizing the CRM security model in the SharePoint. Keeping all this concern into this, we have come up with the solution that is the combination of both the products, that is the document management app that includes attached to Dynamics and a SharePoint security sync. By having the document management in a place, what benefits the users can get out of it is that they can really save 30 to 40% of a storage cost. So when I say storage cost, so what exactly it will do is, rather than piling up or increasing your CRM storage, this document management application will parallelly migrate your attachments from the CRM to the respective cloud storage, right? And also it saves 23% of time is saved in managing the security access. And by doing this, like organizing a well-structured format in the SharePoint, the documents and the folders, so thereby it increases the productivity of the users. So if you see the stats, 21% of the daily productivity has been lost for like any record related issues or a folders that a user cannot able to find out of it, some kind of a mess up in the SharePoint, or the user cannot able to identify it. So by keeping the document management in a place, the benefit that you get out of it is that you can reduce your CRM storage cost, reduce the IT cost, increases your productivity, and yes, seamless synchronization of a CRM security model in this SharePoint. Let's see what are the features that the SharePoint Security Sync application has to offer. So the key features that you see on the screens are some of the latest features that we have incorporated into our solution, starting with the metadata. So when I say the word, the metadata, you all may be simply aware about it, like how important it is like in a current world. So the user wants the custom document to be organized in the SharePoint with the flexible metadata columns, right? So that's what we have added up in our latest solution. So for more detail about this metadata, I can demonstrate while showing you how this feature works and the subfolder structure. So you can create your the subfolder structure, how you wanted to create a folder structure, that is the subfolder structure into the SharePoint. You can define it within our application, that is SharePoint Security Sync. And as per your requirement, you can simply create that folder structure in the SharePoint. The seamless of a folder structure will get created. Move Outlook attachment to the cloud. So what exactly this feature does is like you maybe know that you get a mail on a daily basis with the attachments that are coming up into the Outlook, right? So as soon as the mail hitting into your systems and with an attachments, so that files that are being added up will get migrated into the respective cloud storage using our attachment the UI. Move email body content and the attachments. So when I say move email body content, so that means the email body content also contain a rich text field, which is also again consuming a CRM storage space a lot. So this is where we have also provision where user can simply migrate the email body content as well from the CRM to the respective cloud storage. Security privileges. The security privileges, which is the part of the attached to dynamic UI application, like you can control the users on what all actions the user needs to perform. Like if you give the privileges of upload, download, rename, create folder, all of those operations can be performed. But for some reason, if you don't want to give it delete, so you can simply disable that option for the delete options for that particular user. So that is within the attached to dynamic UI applications, which I'm talking about. And create a multiple folders for the activities. So let's say a datum is the record, and inside that the email activities, if you're creating any appointment task, and inside that creating a quote. So all the kind of a hierarchy, like multiple folders are created, and you want to do organize in such a way into the SharePoint. So yes, that is also pretty much possible in our solution. And the friendly UI. The friendly UI is that like the attached to dynamic UI, which I was explaining here, the upload, download, all this, which you will be able to see it in the attached to dynamic UI, where you can upload a file size of 1.5 GB into the SharePoint. So these are all of the some of the key features which SharePoint Security Sync has to offer. Let's see all of the key features in a live action. So let me switch to my CRM window. So for the webinar purpose, I've already pre-configured the SharePoint Security Model-Driven application in one of my demo environment. And I've already set up with all of the different users. I will show you how uh, which are all the different users I have configured and what exactly the purpose it does. So over here, if you see, I've already installed, I've activated the license and things have been configured. So over here, we will do use cases wise how the features are really important in the current world and how it is achieving the real scenario of the customers and the prospects across the globe. So now when I was talking about the features, the metadata, right? So I will more talk about that particular feature starting that. So in really that is something the required feature which we caters which we receive from all of our customers. So taking an example, live example, let's say user is working on one of the record. Let's say Sam is the owner of this particular or like he's been having the organization level access. So that means he can able to see all of the records in the CRM as well as into the SharePoint, right? So now assuming that Sam is something a salesperson of the organization and he's been creating a record and he wants to upload a file against this particular record. So I'm creating one account entity. I'm taking account entity as an example. This could be more applicable in all of this entity. Yes. So now as a Sam, who has been salesperson, let's assume for this, like Sam has been currently creating a record. And now once you have created it and he wants to upload a file against this particular record into the SharePoint, or you wanted to upload a file against this within this particular record. So I hope you may be using the default functionality, the document tab in order to create a document location. However, as I said, we have a beautiful UI that is attached to Dynamics. Once you hit onto it, here you see a app that is beautiful UI that you can see on the screen with the multiple different actions that the users can able to perform, like download, upload, rename, email, copy link, create a folder, views, etc. All these actions can be performed by the users using the attached to dynamic UI. And the best part that you see over here is I'm talking about the metadata that you see. The fields, the columns that you see it in the SharePoints are seen in the attached to dynamic UI, right? Name, modified, account name, fax, customer name. So this was something that we have seen it in the SharePoint. I can see it over here. The fields like modified name, account name, fax, customer name, the SharePoint columns. I can see it in the attached to dynamic UI. And let's assume, so coming to this use cases, if a user wants to upload a file, he can do in two ways, the old school method of uploading a files, or he can simply drag and drop a file onto this UI. So let me show you how the users can drag and drop. So simply he can upload a file or a folder directly into this UI. The file gets immediately uploaded to the SharePoint. So if you see over here, the best part is the files that you have uploaded along with the metadata columns data has been carried over, and the same if you see it in the SharePoint end, it will be seen over here for that particular record. Let me open that, the location of that particular record. So there you see for the account entity interested in Mapletics, the product that you can see it over here, the columns. And if a user wants to do any custom tagging against the file that you have uploaded, yes, that is option is available. Like you can select that, click on edit. Let's say if I wanted to add the custom name, customer name, fax number, the custom tagging that if the user wants to do against that particular file that which he has uploaded. So that's pretty much possible. So once you have done it over here, if I go into the SharePoint, I refresh it, I see that fax number and the customer name here as well. So that custom tagging option is also pretty much available using the attached to dynamic UI, where which the metadata can be carried over uh, from the CRM to the files which he has uploaded in the CRM to the SharePoint. But also if in the CRM, so let's say, sorry, in the SharePoint, if the user wants to make any changes against the file which that has been uploaded. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to change the name of the file, what I can do is I will select the file. I'm naming it as a product pricing. Click on save. Then now if I refresh it, so this is something if I'll be aware of the SharePoint, like the file name has been changed in the SharePoint. What about in the CRM within the attached to dynamic UI? Does it change or not? Yes, let me show you that as well. If I refresh it, so using or attached to dynamic UI, that's what like the metadata, the files that you have uploaded can be carried over and can see it in the SharePoint and as well. So in SharePoint, the idea behind is that in SharePoint, basically the user needs to configure in the root entity for which they wanted to map the file that they have uploaded, right? This is something really a challenging task for the users. So this is where our SharePoint security sync with the metadata features serves as a powerful tool for users to tailor a document organization as per their needs. So if you see over here that the same pricing, you can expand the column, which how you can do it in the, how do you do it in the SharePoint? The same concept has been used in over here. And you can see the product pricing is the name of the file. And also like you see a different filter options, like how we make a filter option in order to identify any of the file name, or if I wanted to look out for any n number of files are in the CRM, and if I wanted to look out for any particular file, I can filter that and I can look for that option, right? So this is something like you can able to see it in the metadata feature, like any custom views also. So let's say in the SharePoint, if the user creates any custom view, that custom view is also been seen using or attached to dynamic UI can be viewed over here. So let's say this was some one custom view which I have created. And in this view, you can able to see all the list of documents that which you have uploaded. That is also pretty much supported over here. So this is something like using the attached to dynamic UI, how the metadata fields can be carried over into the SharePoint columns. And then you may be thinking, what about if I upload it in the notes attachment? Will that be performing? The metadata, the columns will get carried over or into the SharePoint? To answer that, yes, it is also pretty much achievable. But the thing is that the prerequisite for that is within our application itself. Just you need to configure the metadata mappings. So the mapping that you do it in the metadata configuration, the field name and the SharePoint column. So let's say over here, the mapping has been done for account name, the number, if you do want, if you wanted to put it, the account number. So that is also possible. So once you map based on the mapping that you do it for the field name and the SharePoint column, accordingly, those fields will get carried over and it will see it in the SharePoint end. To show you that, let's say I have not mapped anything as of now, like since it is a basic default account name, customer name, that is something that's been mapped over here. Let's go and check if that has been carried over or not. I'm adding a notes attachment. So now, once I've added this notes attachment, so exactly what it will do is, since I have set in the entity configuration in the normal, I've set the attachment action as a move. So what it will do is, since I've set the attachment action as a move, any file that has been added up, the notes attachment that has been added up to this particular record, the file will get migrated to the SharePoint and the link will be left in the body of the note, further accessible. So whenever if a user wants to access the same file against that particular record, they can able to easily access that. So if I refresh it, the timeline, I can show you that. So now see, the file get migrated into the SharePoint and the link has been left in the body of the note. And if I go and look into the SharePoint end, so there you see the file that we have uploaded. And yes, the mapping, if you have done for that any particular fields in the configuration part, that will be also carried over here. If suppose the user wants to link the metadata accordingly, the metadata columns in the SharePoint. Coming to this use cases, like the user has now migrated, since it is called as a real-time migration. That is something like on a real time, if the user is adding an attachment, that gets migrated into the SharePoint into the respective folders. So the same, you may be thinking, what about my history of an attachment? Will that also be carried over the attachments and it will be moved in a structured way? The folders gets created in a well organized way into the SharePoint. Yes, that is also pretty much possible. That is where our feature bulk migration job comes into the picture. So like it is kind of a moving all of your history of an attachments. Let me show you one that I've already scheduled and completed. So when I say history of an attachments, so that, as I said, the organization having a large number of attachments in the CRM, if they wanted to move it and completely reduce the CRM storage space. So yes, you can run this bulk migration job and you can schedule it as per your requirement. And from there, all of your history of an attachments will get migrated from the CRM and into the respective cloud storage, that is to the SharePoint. So once you have defined the connectors, everything, so you have set it up, scheduled, and the attachment action is the important part. Move, when you set it as a move, it will get completely migrated from the CRM to the respective cloud storage. And you see all of the informations in the information tab over here. Totally how many records has been processed, what was this file size succeeded, everything that you can see it in the information column and in the status as well, succeeded. And if any failure has been occurred, you can again that the seamless integration that can be of attachments can be migrated again by checking the log entity, and yes, accordingly it can be performed. So this how you can migrate all of your history of an attachments, not only for the notes attachment, but yes, it also work for the email attachments, sales literature attachments, for all those activities. Now you may be thinking, what about the security aspects? How the security thing works in this case? Now I have uploaded the files. I can see that files can be migrated into the SharePoint, and I see the files in the SharePoint as well. How about how can I restrict the users for an unauthorized users to access the files in the SharePoint? So yes, this is where the one step ahead of, like I could see, the security aspects comes into the picture. So I've already pre-configured with the 3 different user, as I said, Sam, who is having organization level access. He can see all the records in the CRM as well as into the SharePoint. The other 2 users are, let me show you that. So this is James. James is a user who has been having a, who is into the having a user level access, who is into the sales business unit with the BU level privileges. The other user is the Peter. Let me show you the Peter. So this is the Peter who is part of the same sales business unit having user level privilege. So now, yes, now let's say Sam, who has been working on this record, who is having organization level access. So for some reason, Sam wants to share this record with the other user. Let's say Sam is sharing with Peter this particular record, and he's giving some, granting some privileges. So the main part behind this SharePoint security is that what privileges and the security role that has been assigned to the users in the CRM, the same will get replicated in the SharePoint, right? Let's see whether that's the case or not. So if you see over here, I can share this record. I'm sharing this record to the user that I mentioned is a Peter, who's been having a user level privileges, and here you give the permissions. So once I share this record, now what permission that you are giving to the user is the main part, right? So over here, if you see, there are different permissions, but for now I'm giving only the read-only access, the read-only privileges to this particular user Peter, so that he cannot able to make any modification changes in the file or the record within the CRM or into the SharePoint. I've shared this record. So now what it will happen is that Peter should be able to see the record in a CRM, which is a default behavior that of the CRM, which if you share a record that can be seen. But what about the SharePoint? In the SharePoint also Peter can able to see only the read-only access. Let's check. So this is the Peter account, right? I'm going into the record that has been shared. So this was the record that has been shared to the Peter, right? And you see a read-only permission in the CRM. But what about in the SharePoint? So let me show you that as well. If I go into the SharePoint, so yeah, there you see interested in the Mapletics. This was the record that files that shared with the user. And there you see a pencil icon, right? If I open that, this was a file that has been already uploaded from that particular folder that is interested in the Mapletics from the SAM user. That file, you can see it in the SharePoint from the Peter login, and you see a read only pencil icon. So if user wants to make any changes, he cannot able to do that. Since the user has been given the read only permission in the CRM, the same get replicated in the SharePoint end as well. So that's the reason the user cannot able to make any modification against the file that has seen in the SharePoint. So thereby it could be applicable in all of the cases. So this was something one use cases which I was showcasing you now. This could be applicable in all of the combination, like if a user is added to the team, remote from the team, associate, dissociate, sharing, or like sharing, adding a user into the teams, removing from the team, adding a user in the business unit, removing from the business unit. All those combination aspects, yes, it works in the same way. Like what security role and privileges that you're giving to the users in the CRM, the same will get replicated in the SharePoint. Yes, that's how we have seen it over here. But you can correlate this use cases based upon your business scenarios. Like there could be a multiple BUs and how you wanted to give an access to the users. So all this can be pretty much possible using our application that is SharePoint Security Sync. So now we have seen this one scenario. What about like we have also faced one more scenario which we have came up with recently, that is uh, the only one record. So there may be a multiple person maybe working on a single record. Like they may be having a different purposes in which they wanted to work against a single record, and they upload a file. But the thing is that the file which the user who has uploaded cannot should not be seen by the other user. So let's say taking an example over here, Peter is one of the user, right? The Peter is also in the same business unit, sales business unit, and the other James is also in the sales business unit. But James is having the BU privileges, where the user is Peter is having the user level privileges. So now any record that has been created by Peter or James, either of them can able to see in the CRM of that particular account, but the files that they have uploaded into the SharePoint won't be seen by either of them. Let's see how it works over here. Taking an example, let me create a new account. Right, I've created a new account, Peter, and I will hit on the attach to dynamic button for the document location to be created in the SharePoint. So I have hit that. So now this record should be visible by the other user, that is James. since James and Peter are both of in the same sales business unit, but they have a different privileges. Let me show you that as well. Once it gets created, the document location, right? If I go and check in the other user in, so now James can also able to see this record. Interested in GameFX, right? Let me open that. And now let's assume that Peter, who's been having a user level privileges, who's trying to upload a file or trying to upload a record notes attachment. So this is Peter, right? If Peter against this particular record, Peter is trying to upload a notes attachment. So now since we are doing the real-time migration, the adding a notes attachment, right, which we have seen the same. So now what here it should happen is, since Peter has uploaded this file in the notes attachment, the other user, James, cannot able to see this file in this timeline, since they are both are part of the same business unit, but they are having the different privileges. That is the file level syncing. So this is what the file level syncing aspects feature which I am talking about. That is something where we have come up with recently. Like many users can work upon the same record, but they cannot able to see the files that they have uploaded, right? Let's see that's the case or not over here. If I refresh the timeline, so the file gets migrated into the SharePoint. If I go into the SharePoint, I can see this. If I go again into the James account, so this is the James, right? Again, the same record, which he can see. Even if I refresh it, he should not able to see that record in the timeline, that file. Sorry, not the record. The file won't be seen in the timeline. Not only into the CRM as well, but it is also applicable into the SharePoint end as well. That's how the file level syncing works using our SharePoint security syncing application. So there you see, I don't see any files in the timeline of this particular user, James. Let me show it in the SharePoint end as well. So let me hit on this UI and navigate to that file. Show you that how it works in the SharePoint. I can see from the Peter end the file that are in the SharePoint. But however, if I go and check in the uh, for the James Smith, I cannot able to see that files over here. So that's how the file level syncing works using our applications, which is part of the SharePoint security sync. So now the as I was talking earlier as well, so now we have been uploading multiple files, folders in a single document library. That is, so let's say account entity record, account is the full document library. And inside that I'm uploading a multiple. So once the document library has been hitting with the 50,000 items, so there you will be able to see our limitations, which I was talking about earlier. So this is where our feature called as a custom folder structure that comes into the picture. Like you can create your own document library in the SharePoint just by doing simple configuration. So in this, you can create a library structure upon your requirement. Like you can do it. You can create your own document library. So this is James. So let's do it from the user levels, organization level activities in the entity configuration. Sam. So there you see there are different options by period, by starting character, or a custom. It's completely up to the user's choice how they wanted to create the document library in the SharePoint and how the record folder structure should be. So if you see over here, while I was showcasing you all of the folders files that are uploaded into the SharePoint with the case along with the ID and also the name, the logical name that you see over here, the record folder structure. So if I show that, so there you see the case under this is something that I wanted to create the record folder structure. This is the GUID appended GUID against this, and this is the record name, the logical name that we have added up in a curly brace. So this is how you can define your own folder structure and also the library. So over here, I have not created any library structure. That's the reason it's hitting into the account entity by default account entity library in the SharePoint. However, if you set it, the library structure as by period starting character in the SharePoint, how it looks like is this, like you will be able to see a different document library will get created, and inside that the files will get migrated, and you can see it in the items over here. Isn't it great? Like you can simply overcome or manage all of your documents in a well structured and organized way. Let's say if you wanted to manage your document 2024 2025 in a one folder, so yes, you can create one document library for that and upload all of your files in that section. And for the next year, if you wanted to create any another document library, is that also pretty much possible. In this way, you can simply eliminates the overcome those challenges, and thereby you can see a well structured and organized files and folders into the SharePoint. So this is how the SharePoint security sync application works, like how you can manage your documents in the SharePoint, how you can reduce your CRM storage space into the SharePoint with the using our application SharePoint security sync. So now let me switch back to the presentation. So these are all some of the common questions that we used to get from the customers and the prospects, like are the attachment easily accessible once migrated to the cloud storage? So it is yes, as you have seen when I was migrating the real time at a notes attachment, the link was left in the body of the note. So that's how the users can able to easily access those files which they have migrated to the respective cloud storage. Which type of SharePoint sites does SharePoint Security Sync supports? So native SharePoint integration sites, which you have enabled with the document management settings so that you can use it. And yes, from there you can able to simply migrate all of your attachments and move it. All the SharePoint sites, it is pretty much applicable supported. Is it possible to sync previous records in a bulk? Yes, we have a Windows tool which you can migrate. You can synchronize all of your old records in a well structured manner in the SharePoint using our bulk synchronization tool. And yes, it is pretty much supported in all of the devices like mobile phone, tablets, and the laptops. The supported version of SharePoint Security Sync is Microsoft Dynamics 9.x and above. That is 9.2 and above, and as well as from the Dataverse, which can deploy it on online. And to get started with the trial is really simple. You can simply download the solution from Microsoft App Source as well as from our website, which is www.inogic.com. During your trial period, if you need any assistance in setting up the trial at your end, you can reach out to us at crm@inogic.com. We would be happy to answer all of your queries. Now let's have a Q&A session. I would really appreciate if you could please put your questions on the chat window. So let me answer all of your queries. So let me come back to that chat window. So we have a questions. Thanks, Daniel, for attending the session. So yes, the recording will be shared after this meeting, post this meeting. And also, like if you wanted to have a one-to-one session with our team of Inogic experts. So that is also pretty much possible. Like we can able to present you and demonstrate you as per your own business use cases, which you can, if you could provide us, then yes, in that case, we can able to showcase you one-to-one demo as well. Any questions, Daniel, on how the SharePoint security sync application is it close to the use cases that you are looking out for? How does it works? Sorry. So any questions would be highly appreciated. Yes, Daniel is typing. Yes. So that's a good question. So like the creator of an record will always have the permission over the files uploaded to it. Yes, that is, yeah. Yes, Daniel, we are expecting more questions from your end. So yeah, we appreciate your queries. So yeah, we have another question. So if an user owns a record and then the owner is switched, he will lose the access to it, assuming that there is permission or user level over that table. Yeah. So whenever if a user owns a record and if the owner of the record has been changed, so yes, based on the security role, if the user is not a part of this, he's not able to access that in the CRM, the same will get replicated in the SharePoint. Is permission or user level over that table? Yes, in that case. Does that answer your query or still you need a more clarification on that, Daniel? Yes, thanks, Daniel. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you really like this session. And yes, you will the recording we will share post this meeting. You will be getting from our marketing team. And yes, you can reach out to us for the trial as well. So we do provide a trial, and also like if we can set up a support call in terms of like we can configure all of the things in a one shot with my technical team along from your end, like having a screen sharing session. And yes, we can get the thing set up for you. Yes, thanks, Daniel. And I hope everyone liked the session. And yes, uh, look forward to in the another session. And yes, in the meantime, have a great day. Take care. Bye bye. See you.